Welcome. I'm Thomas Johnson, host of Oakland Is, the community action program that highlights individuals, institutions, and situations that are very valuable and to our public viewers. Today, we'd like to welcome Mr. Leo Bazile, public servant for Oakland and advocate of Oakland for many, many years. Leo has been described as a fiery Oakland City Council member known for his superior skills in the city's budget process and his dogged defense of his beloved city. So this is Economics 101. Welcome, Leo.
Well, thank you.
How have the economics of the city changed? How have you seen it progress, digress, or whatever?
Well, I have to, kind of lay a framework to. I came to Oakland in 1945. I was 2 years old from New Orleans, Louisiana. So I've been here all of my life. Mm-hmm. I eat Southern, but my mind is Western. So Oakland has been, a passion of mine. Mm-hmm. I think it's the best kept secret in the Bay Area. And when you put it in the proper context of the Bay Area, it brings us to what I consider the economic struggle that we're in. As another passion is what is the role and activity or history of my people as African Americans in this country. And so looking at those two things, I've constantly tried to see how they go together. And the point then that I would lay down is that if you recognize that the Bay Area is the fifth largest economic power in the United States or market in the United States, then Oakland fits into a proper context. If you put Oakland by itself, you have to look at Alameda County, you got San Francisco, you got San Jose, you got all of these other entities around. So how do we fit in? And that was my passion on the city council, is to try to prepare us for this future that I think that we are presently in.
Well, in that same vein, Leo, what if you take Oakland out of the region? What does the region become then?
Well, the region is still healthy, you see, because it's bipolar in the sense that the one pole emanates around Stanford University and Silicon Valley. In information technology. The other pole is the University of California at Berkeley, which is basically around biotechnology. So if you look at information technology and biotechnology, the Bay Area is a hub for that in the nation and the world. And so if you took Oakland out of that, Berkeley and Stanford would still be here. So if you look at Oakland's position then, Oakland's position is paramount because of Alameda County. If you start looking at the 9 Bay Area counties around the Bay, you see Santa Clara County is number 1. Contra Costa County and Alameda County on the East Bay side are combined as a market area, which makes it very powerful because of Berkeley. And you say, well, why Contra Costa County? Because again, the housing in Alameda and Contra Costa County that is available for people working in San Francisco or Santa Clara County is what makes it as potent as it is. And then if you put Alameda and Contra Costa County together, you know that Martinez is the capital of Contra Costa County.
Exactly.
Oakland is the capital of Alameda County. Alameda County, Contra Costa County, Martinez and Oakland. There is no Martinez International Airport. There is no Martinez Coliseum. There is no Martinez Arena. There's no Martinez, BART system connection and so forth in terms of spanning into the whole area. So Oakland is the economic capital of the Bay Area, but we don't play that role because we don't see it.
Interesting. What can we do to see it? What do we have to do to broadcast Oakland as an economic capital?
Well, again, looking at the Bay and the 9 counties surrounding the Bay, then look at it from the context of Vallejo being the North Bay capital, Oakland being the East Bay capital, San Francisco being the West Bay capital, and San Jose being the South Bay. We compare Oakland with San Francisco. San Francisco is a world-class city, but San Francisco is also a county. So don't compare San Francisco City to Oakland City. Compare San Francisco County to Alameda County. And then when you look at Alameda County, then you begin to see the real power of the city. The spillover from Santa Clara County. You can't, if you got a high-tech job down there making a couple $100,000 or $300,000 or whatever, and you can't get a home in Santa Clara County, well, the spillover is into Pleasanton and then Livermore into Alameda County. And the same thing with our job production. 60% of the people in Oakland work outside of the city of Oakland. 60% of the people that have jobs in Oakland live outside of Oakland. So there's a lot of cross-fertilization in the Bay Area. So anytime you've got a location in the Bay Area, you're in good shape. But look at where Oakland is located. It is the center. It is the economic or geographical center of the Bay Area. You come in through the Golden Gate Bridge and go into the Bay, you're going to run into the port of Oakland. You got an airport. City, San Jose is larger than San Francisco, or going on 1 million. They've got their airport finally and up and running, and San Francisco airport. So Oakland is geographically situated to be a major player in the 5th largest economic entity in the country. New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia, and then the Bay Area. So if you've got 2 years of education beyond high school, and it's in those areas of services that will be connected to information technology, medical services, or biotech. And when I mean by biotech, you got to know something about biology and test tubes and beakers and everything. And there's plenty of work for you in the Bay Area if you've got those kind of skills.
Very good, very good. City of Oakland. You were a council member for many years. You were vice mayor. Oakland's facing big problems, as most cities are these days. Economically, what can Oakland do to answer those problems?
At the base of it all is education. The best thing that we can do for our city is to get our children prepared for this prosperous Bay Area. The Bay Area right now is leading California out of its economic stress. The housing prices are going up, wages are going up, things are moving again. We're the only area in the state that has grown at least 2% every year in our economy. So people don't realize the Bay Area is a wonderful place, weather-wise and everything else. So people are going to want to come here. The law of supply and demand. Housing. If there is no housing, then prices go up. And that is what is happening because people want to come here and there's not enough housing. So Oakland needs to try to allow for housing for young families, young couples just starting with the first children, right? And therefore, they're looking for not only location, but they're also looking for school districts. So the best thing that Oakland could do right now is to put all of its emphasis that it can in getting its schools back up to par. And I think that they have an excellent opportunity to do that because they have a governor who used to be a mayor of this city. They have a treasurer in Bill Lockyer who used to be an assemblyman for this city. We've got all kinds of friends in Washington, D.C. Nancy Pelosi of San Francisco is going to be speaker again, I hope. But we've got plenty of political juice and contacts. We just need to have everybody focus in on how can we make the school system better to attract those young couples that are going to want to live in the Bay Area.
Super. Crime. I've heard police officials begging for more money for more officers on the street, and then in the next sentence indicate that we can't arrest our way out of the problem. What do you think about, that dichotomy of facts?
Well, it's true. And that people always think that if I can get more policemen, I'm somehow going to be safer. Mm-hmm. No, the policeman usually comes after the crime and not in a hurry. And for most people, it's not fast enough. Mm-hmm. So if you want to get in front of the crime, again, you've got to stop producing criminals. Mm-hmm. And reproducing criminals if you are sending kids out here into this information age that we're living in. That information age comes from the fact that Alvin Toffler had a book called The Third Wave. We started off as a people, as agriculture, and people worked the land. Mm-hmm. They left the land and went to the factories, to Detroit. Let's use Detroit as an example, and worked manufacturing, doing things with your hands. Today, we're in the information age. So from the manufacturing factory to the office, to the service, to the hospital, to these types of jobs, that's where we are as a direction that we're heading in. Well, that information age means you have to know how to process information, add value to it, and put it as speedily into the marketplace as you can. And so again, back to our schools. You got to learn to read, and then you got to read to learn. And learn as much as you possibly can about as many things as you can, because you are going to be dealing with a diversity of people, a diversity of cultures, and a diversity of occupations if you are providing some type of service. And so as much as you can know in the information age inside of your head, then you have to, which is where I fall down, know how to work all of these machines and Twitter and all this other stuff that these youngsters do.
Very good. Let's talk about city government. Mm-hmm. You've seen 1945, well, you've seen it all.
Yeah.
You've been through a lot of it. That vice mayor at one point.
I served 10 years on the city council under Elihu Harris and Lionel Wilson.
Okay. Now, can you give us a synopsis of the economics that these mayors faced and the accomplishments they made from, let's say, Lionel to Gene?
Yeah, well, Lionel was the golden era for Black Power, if you will. Mm-hmm. That is, for many years we fought with the Republican downtown establishment that ran things from the Tribune Tower and the Oakland City Hall Tower, and trying to find a place, trying to deal with the power structure in this city. This is where the Panthers and all the other things come from. We have a history of activism in this area. Mm-hmm. When Lionel came through, Lionel was the breakthrough that minorities had finally arrived to the point where they could consolidate their votes and start electing some people. Lionel and Carter Gilmore went on, Alita Cannon came on, Wilson Rouse went on, and then I was the fifth African-American vote on that council. Mm-hmm. So that was the golden age. When I say golden age is because at that time we had black city manager. Mm-hmm. Our Congressman, Ron Dellums. Mm-hmm. We had Barbara Lee in the state senate. We had the board of supervisors, John George. We had, the editor of the newspaper, Robert Maynard, Calvin Simmons, the conductor of the symphony, the port director, the airport director. So we proved during that period of time of political ascendancy that we had qualified people for hundreds of years, but something was keeping us out. Well, we know what it was. And we overcame that. And the Bay Area can be proud of the progressivity that it has in terms of race relations and accepting people from all over the world. Mm-hmm. Then Elihu came in at a time when everybody was finding out, oh, isn't it wonderful, starting in 1966 with Stokes in Cleveland, that African Americans are now becoming mayors. Mm-hmm. But they didn't come to grips with was that the economic base, the tax base of the cities was leaving and going to the suburbs. Mm-hmm. So that by the time Elihu arrived, we had accomplished much in getting the offices, but we still hadn't been able to put the deliverables out there. Mm-hmm. The deliverables were there only for a moment when Jimmy Carter was president. And surprisingly, when Nixon was there, because we had a thing called revenue sharing. So money would come to the mayors and to the cities, and we could put together a lot of the programs. Mm-hmm. But where we were falling behind was that transition from the manufacturing age People don't realize that 73rd and Bancroft used to be the Fisher Body plant before it moved out to Fremont, you see. So that was just indicative of the fact that we were losing those working class manufacturing jobs and going more into the information age, and we weren't properly preparing our children there. But the problem for the mayor was, and to today, no authority over the schools. And that's why I find it ironic that Jean Quan, who for a number of years was on the school board, now she's the mayor of this city. If she doesn't see the nexus and thinks that she's going to keep putting money into policemen instead of putting money into teachers, it's a fool's game to think that you're going to police your way out of this crime situation when kids can't get the knowledge they need to go and be economically viable in the most economically viable area in California.
Wow. Very, very, very interesting. So, if you were mayor, what would you do?
Well, I tried that and people rejected it. In fact, I ran twice. So I don't know what I would to do today, but what I had planned to do then is what I just talked about. Is I would have put an initiative on the ballot and pushed Jerry Brown to do that, to get the mayor involved in the school district. At one time, he had 3 appointments on the board, but they allowed that to expire. Well, this prison to this cradle to prison pipeline will never be broken if we don't get with the kids. And if we're going to get with the kids, we've got to get to them before the 4th grade. You had an interesting panel on here a few minutes ago. Our people have always been craving education, and everybody understands the necessity of education, but we're just not getting it. So the mayor, as the leader of the city, has got to focus the attention on that, and that's what I would have done. Put more attention on how can we all help the schools? How can we take $3.5 billion a year in governmental payroll? You say, what are you talking about? Oakland is the headquarters for the Bay Area Rapid Transit elected board. It is the Alameda County, $1.5 billion. The school district of Oakland, the city of Oakland, the port of Oakland, all of these governmental entities all paying people fairly good salaries and pensions, which is getting us in trouble. Can't the East Bay Mud Water District take the insurance problem off of the shoulders of the school district by insuring the buses that will take the kids to the water projects and to the dam, and to show them how the engineering works to get a water faucet that they turn on every day? Some of those entities out there can pick up some of these things that will enhance the children, field trips to the museums or whatever. You say, well, that's not a part of their charter. Well, change the charter. Because the dollars that each one of those political entities that I just mentioned come out of the same pocket, yours and mine, in the form of taxes. So whether the state gets it, or the county or the city or what, or the BART district or any other political subdivision, matters not to me. They're all spending my tax money, so why don't they come together like those police officers did in Boston, when the FBI, the state police, the city police, and all the rest of them had to come together and work on a problem? Well, I'm saying as mayor, I would have focused all of those governmental entities on the city schools of Oakland. And anybody that sit on those boards that didn't want to participate in that, I'd be in their faces when their election comes around with some money and some votes against them to get them out of office.
Super. Back to economics again. Of course, we've been on it all along. Everybody wants to do business with China for obvious reasons.
Right.
They've got the money, they've got the resources, they got the people. I don't see anybody jumping up and down craving to do business with Africa. Why is that?
Well, that is because we don't think of Africa in economic terms. We think of Africa in terms of exploitation of their mineral resources. And if you just really wanted to focus on Africa, And we can because we're in contact with each other over the internet now. So the globalized economy is now at everybody's fingertips. So you bring up a good point. There ought to be a connection. We have sister cities. We established sister city in Ghana. We have sister cities in China. I've been to China as a council member to try to get people to look globally as to what they can do in the global marketplace. My recommendation was to start with your congressional office and try to get information on outreach programs and so forth that are currently concerning Africa. I'm not familiar with what they are right now. That's why I say start with Congresswoman Lee's office as your point of contact, and then go from there. Because we do need to have hands in overseas trade in Africa, and we have enough Africans in the Bay Area here that those kind of contacts and established trade negotiations and rules need to be established.
Where do you see us going at Oakland economically?
Wherever the Bay Area goes.
We gotta
and
go.
the Bay Area is going, as I said, around those two poles. You got two great universities here, Stanford and UC Berkeley.
And you attended them both?
Yeah, I was fortunate, blessed enough to have gone to both of them, no doubt. But I'm not promoting them because I went there. I'm just thanking God that I was able to go there and want to see more of our children get there. So, but those are the economic drivers. Just in terms of employment at the universities themselves, numbers, but what they generate out into the community is going to be the thing that makes the Bay Area a viable place, coupled with that next thing that everybody loves about this place. The weather is just great. And if we can keep the A's in the Oakland and the Raiders in Oakland, and along with our Warriors, we've got we've got all of the. Let's say it this way, because let's focus on the president's hometown of Chicago. We've got all of the problems of a Chicago. We're big enough to have all of the problems of Chicago, which every major city in the country is having. But unlike Chicago, we're small enough to get our arms around. You see? We're talking about millions of kids in school in a place like Chicago, but we're talking about what? 45, 50, 1,000 kids. We can handle that. Criminals, let's say 10% of our population of 400,000 were criminals. We've got enough police and everything to get a handle around that. We just can't seem to come up with the plan. All this craziness that's going on down there with the courts and everything else is ridiculous.
It is. It is. One final shot, Leo. You mentioned some names: Dellums, Harris, Maynard, and on and on and on. What happened to? Do we have a new group of people coming in to fill the shoes of those individuals? It seems like we have a drought of those caliber of people.
Well, that's why I'm saying in terms of what, now we have to talk movement politics in terms of African Americans. Our struggle has been social. That is, we started off wanting to be accepted socially, be able to go and sit where we wanted to, eat where we wanted to, even be buried where we could, all right? That was the social context. Then we moved into black power, and we're going to take over the cities, and we're going to do those kinds of things. Well, we did that. And now the struggle is economics. Well, when we could move into those governmental positions that we talked about, that was what was available to us. And when we got in the office, we started saying, well, anybody wants to contract with our city in the private sector, they're going to have to show some affirmative action. Well, they started then showing that affirmative action. And our kids got a chance to go into the private sector. And that's where all of their minds were. They went from wanting to be lawyers like me to wanting to be MBAs. Now I'm hoping that they want to be economists so that they can teach us about the Federal Reserve Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the World Trade Organization, and that will facilitate us moving into markets like Africa. If we can't do anything else in Africa, we ought to be able to take care of the hair problem. right?
We can't take care of her problems either.
Right.
You know?
I mean, but
women now have to go to Korean beauty stores to
well,
get
they're
hair
buying all
products.
that Indian hair and putting on their heads. But I'm saying, no, brothers go to the barbershop, and
true.
nobody is competing with us to cut our hair.
That's true.
All right? So there are 88 million black people in in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And I know they need some Afro sheen or something. You know, I don't say there's something over there. It's got to be 88 million black people in Brazil, 40 million in the United States, 160 million in Nigeria.
Wow.
So come on now. I mean, if we can't find a place to carve out some economic power and stop allowing our community to feed everybody. Everybody comes into our communities.
That's right.
When I was coming in 1945, all the little corner stores, Chinese. Mm-hmm. Then we started getting into the little stores. Then black people started moving into the liquor stores. And then we had Calpac and all these organizations, all these business people. Well, our children now have to move into the higher echelons of economics and international finance, which is where we hope they are, because when I was on city council, Goldman Sachs couldn't do business in the city of Oakland unless I saw some black faces at Goldman Sachs. So where are those kids now? They're going to Harvard and they become president of the United States. Now, let's say we go to Harvard and become head of the World Bank, appointed by the President of the United States.
Super, super. Wonderful talking to you, Leo. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for
and
inviting
sharing
me.
your views with our viewers. We're out of time, but we hope to have you back and maybe continue this discussion.
All right.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Social Security Commissioner Michael Astro.
And I'm Scott Gould, Deputy Secretary for Veterans Affairs.
Every 2 minutes, the U.S. government receives an identity theft complaint.
Recently, we've learned that more and more people are getting scammed out of their money when they give their personal information to criminals who contact them by phone, email, or text.
These criminals often say you've won the lottery, or they claim to be from a government agency needing certain information, like a Social Security number.
Treasury, Social Security, Veterans Affairs, and other government agencies will never contact you by phone, text, or email and ask you for this information. If you get contacted like this, it's a scam. Hang up, delete the email, call the authorities.
Don't let criminals take your money. Protect yourself. Never give your Social Security number or bank account information to anyone unless you initiated contact.
And watch your accounts to make sure that all the activity is yours.
Don't be a victim. Visit stopfraud.gov or call 877-ID-THEFT to learn more.